most people have a difficult time with this concept called esoteric. A lot of people think esoteric just means people who know a lot of stuff and don't really want to share it, so they put it under a cloud of esoteric philosophy, esoteric teachings, and they talk about stuff that's so up there that no one can possibly understand. Most of the time, they don't either. The truth is, esoteric teachings is about one of those things that you look at, and when you read it or you hear it, you gain an insight. And then when you read the same sentence or hear the same concept again, you gain another insight. So esoteric teachings is designed to open up your conscious to deeper and deeper layers of it. So therefore it transforms, helps you to gain greater insight about yourself, about life, about your actions, about what you want to read, and how to flow.
A lot of people hear the word the occult and they think it's dark, bad, and evil. It's really not.
No, it isn't. It comes from the Latin word occultus. It means secret or hidden. It's a word that came into usage during the Renaissance, when Renaissance writers and thinkers were rediscovering the spiritual traditions of antiquity from Egypt, Greece, Rome, and they referred to these things as the occult. Manly wrote about some of that in the Secret Teachings of All Ages, but not in a negative way. He saw Freemasonry, for example, as an organization that believed in principles of individual liberty, ecumenism, religious freedom, and did believe, I think correctly, that Masonry played a core role in the founding of our nation. Groups like Freemasonry, the Rosicrucians, the historic Illuminati, all these groups revolved around the idea that the individual spiritual search was the birthright of all people. These secret societies vouchsafed ancient ideas and eventually helped bring them to light in the founding of the United States.
Welcome back to another installment of
Illuminati Confirmed.
And we got somebody in the house today. I'm Juan from the Juan podcast. We got Mark from My Family Thinks I'm Crazy. And we got Pope Christopher from Mensa podcast. And we have Esoteric Eddie with us today. What's up, bro?
What up, what up? Namaste. Here I am chilling.
A celebrity, bro. He was just on Tinfoil. He killed it. And here he is with us. Gonna chop it up. We're gonna talk some marsupial theory.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
You never heard of that, bro? You never heard of the marsupial theory, dog?
No, I don't. It doesn't sound like a laughing matter. It sounds very serious. I don't know.
That literally rings no bells.
That's some esoteric shit. So Eddie, before we get into it, bro, can you plug your stuff so listeners can find you? I know you're already famous, but just in case, you know what I mean?
For sure. You guys cut out for a second there, and I don't know if that happened to you too, but didn't catch the last bit. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. I said if you can plug your stuff so people can find you. I know you're already famous, so it's probably not going to do much.
Nah, man, I'm still underground, dude. But of course, Instagram, Esoteric Eddie, YouTube, Esoteric Eddie TV, and got a BitChute too, Esoteric Eddie TV. And yeah, you can find me on there.
Right on.
Bro, I thought you had said something else. I thought you said like, you a bitch, you too. I was like,
are we all lost in translation here? What's going on?
This guy's gangster, bro.
Can you read the disclaimer, Mark?
And you a bitch.
I'm sick.
Oh yeah. Welcome to Illuminati Confirmed, where everything you say can and will be used for satirical and humorical purposes by the court of we three degenerates.
All right, just putting it out there, bro. This is like a free form. You know, we're trying to find the answers to the lizards, if you will, the
Illuminati Confirmed,
and trying to really dig deep, bro. And I don't know any better person than a person with the name Esoteric Eddie to come on and shed some light on this stuff. Can you
explain the origin story, Eddie? I'm sorry, Juan, to cut you off.
No, that was my question.
I am very curious too. Yeah, let's get into the origin story. Where did this start for you, bro? Like, what first maybe like opened your eyes to these strange truths that you're dispersing to the masses?
Absolutely, dude. Well, my entire life has revolved around the esoteric, but some of the earliest things that I can remember. Well, I grew up in a religious family, and the Bible always intrigued me, the stories and stuff like that. I always knew there was something there, something deeper there. And I'm the youngest of 4 kids, 2 brothers, 1 sister, and we were all rebels. So like in 3rd, 4th grade, I was bumping Pink Floyd, Hendrix, Bob Marley. And, I used to run around in elementary school with like an oversized Bob Marley shirt, and just listening to all this rebellious music. And I remember when 9/11 happened, I was in third grade, right around third grade. And I had already not trusted the government due to like Pink Floyd and stuff like that. I remember watching The Wall, the animated Pink Floyd movie, The Wall, when I was like in third grade. And I used to run around like doing the hammer thing, like tear down the wall, not even knowing what that means. So I already knew government wasn't to be trusted, and I didn't like school or authority anyway. And when 9/11 happened, I was young, but for some reason I knew like the government had something to do with it. I don't know if I heard that from somebody or something, but I just knew that like George Bush was sinister. And then it wasn't until like right around sixth grade, which was like 2006-ish for me, I started getting into hip hop music. And then, of course, a lot of those lyrics started to wake me up too, specifically like underground hip hop. And then this one of the strangest occurrences that I had early on in middle school was my first time meeting a Freemason. And I didn't know what that was until later on, but it intrigued me in that moment. And the story goes kind of like this. I'll tell it to you briefly. I was like probably in seventh or eighth grade, and me and one other kid that I was cool with had to go to Saturday school for being bad and stuff. And it was us two, and then the Saturday school teacher. I still remember his name, Mr. Robert McCreary, an Irish guy nonetheless, and also known as Mr. Roberts. And he was really cool on campus. Everybody loved him because he was chill. He let you be yourself, and he didn't care if you cursed and stuff. He just said, don't do it around women, and kind of like gentleman kind of guy. But we're sitting there with him, and then he always was rocking this fat, like golden ring. And out of nowhere, he just starts telling us about the ring. And he's like, well, I'm a part of this organization. We're called the Freemasons. And back in Ireland, my priest, the leader of my lodge, took me to these old lodges and these dungeons where skeletons still exist today. And he showed us the ring, and it was a Freemason sign on it. Didn't know what it was at the time. And he's like, my priest gave me this ring back in Ireland when he was dying. And he told me, if anybody tries to steal this ring from you, they will die. So it was like, what the hell, being like in middle school, like hearing this was, all the stuff I'd gone through before and that. And then also something else that happened in my young life that kind of sparked my mind was my grandpa used to be a pastor, and then fell into like some alcoholism, and then kind of got out of that, and then kind of was just chilling and working for the rest of his life. And he was always like watching unsolved mysteries and stuff like that when I was a kid. So I knew what UFOs and aliens were at an early age. And he was always out in the corner, like smoking cigarettes at family parties, looking up at the sky. So one day I decided to ask him, like, yo, Grandpa, why are you always looking up at the sky? And he started to tell me the reason is because he had seen a UFO before. And so I was like, what the heck, growing up in a religious family, and my grandpa being a pastor. So I had asked him, like, well, how does that make you feel about God? And he just kind of took a drag and looked at me and said, well, I don't know. So, being intrigued and listening to all this music and being rebellious and knowing the government wasn't trustworthy, and then meeting a Freemason in middle school, and then hearing my grandpa tell me that aliens are possibly real. And then finally, like, taking it upon myself in high school to really start reading and researching and watching all these videos from all the classics like David Icke, Alex Jones, Bob Purcell, and like all the OGs in the game. I really, really started to learn this stuff. And then from then on, it was just from high school up until now, which I'm 27 years old now. So it's been over 10 years of these life experiences and researching. And I've gone through different incarnations as an artist too, trying to get this information out. Some failures, some successes, but through it all, I've recently refurbished myself and come back out as Esoteric Eddie within the past several months.
You've been rebranded.
Yeah. Yep, redesigned, rebranded, and just rebirthed.
Why would you use those words, Chris?
I'm a designer.
No, me too. Me too. I use that word a lot. I do a little bit of graphic designing, and I've done a bunch of other artist stuff.
Wait, so Esoteric Eddie, go in on Mark then. You got my back, dog. Get him.
No, man, there's nothing wrong with viewing yourself as a brand, because people are going to perceive you whether you like it or not. So you might as well help that perception to be more consistent with who you are. And like I was saying, I've gone through incarnations as an artist. I've had different artist names that I started to not feel genuinely connected to. So I was like, dude, I just want to be Eddie, but there's got to be something else involved with that Eddie. So I was like, boom, Esoteric Eddie.
And what degree are you, bro, of a Freemason, dog?
Dude, I'm what they call a street Mason. I'm an honorary member. Nah, dude. No, I actually have a pretty cool plaque here that I found at a thrift store from 1913. And it's an honorary plaque, a certificate that was given to a 33rd degree Mason.
Bro, you bobbing and weaving right now, bro.
I'm like looking at
Illuminati Confirmed.
No, I don't buy it.
Like the Matrix.
I'm with Eddie. I believe Eddie. I don't think I'm with that. I think I've been given honorary status to some groups, but I've never been to any meetings, right? Right, Eddie? We've never been to any meetings, so.
Nah, bro. Heck no. Honestly, that shit would be boring as hell. And you know what's funny?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, you know what's funny is like we always accuse like Freemasons as like running the world, and obviously there's a lot of that going on. But if you ever watch like a female Freemason like ceremony, you look at that and you're like, nah, these chicks ain't running shit.
Are you talking about like the Eastern Lodge, like that kind of thing?
Eastern stuff.
Where have you seen that? Is that like YouTube video you can find?
He's been there, bro.
Nah, you know, I got a funny story about that too. If you guys haven't heard it on, I'll probably say it on a couple. So I'm from San Diego, and in Oceanside, there's a Eastern Lodge. So for those who don't know, Freemasonry has a female section. It's called the Order of the Eastern Star, and its logo is literally it's a pentagram. It's an upside down star in a circle, and like the different parts of the pentagram are colored with different symbols. So it's like a rainbow pentagram. And there's one of them in one of my local cities, and there was a big ass metallic sign. And one day we thought it'd be funny to go steal that shit. So me and my homies got baked or whatever, went out there and we stole the sign.
You want us to censor this out, bro? I mean, you just admitted.
Damn.
No, we're good. You'll hear why I told you the story. Daniel. So we took the sign, and then we put it on my coffee table, and we thought it was cool, and I still got pictures of it. But I started to have like these weird, I don't know, like energy attacks, I guess you can call them, just these weird paranoias. That time in my life was really weird too, as far as like paranormal stuff. So one day I was like, man, fuck this sign. So I just like took it back and just left it behind the lodge.
What? Do you think that they were like, trying to psychically get at you, or maybe not you particularly because they didn't know who it was, but you think they were trying to like send out some kind of disturbances towards you for taking a sign? Jeez. I've heard similar stuff happen. There's like a metaphysical store that is not too far from me, and a buddy's older brother allegedly like stole some stuff from there, and the woman who owned the place cursed him. And hand in God, that dude's not alive anymore. I'm not making a joke, but there's other causes that led to that. But you know, rest in peace, Chris. I love you, brother.
What, bro? What are you talking about, man?
Is that a sound clip? Because that kind of sounds like you, Juan. You gotta find a different sound clip. That might get confusing for the guests.
That's that one basketball player. I forgot what's his name. The dinosaur looking guy. No, not the dinosaur looking guy. Anyways, that's a meme. But yeah, that's fucking.
Come on, man.
That's fucking wild.
Eddie is Edward. Eddie, is that real at all, or is it all pseudonym?
Oh no, my real name is Eduardo.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, so you just barely made it on the show then.
Yeah, we have this thing where our guests need to have fake names, even though the three of us use our real names, unfortunately. But our guest needs a fake name, so that's why Esoteric Eddie fit the narrative.
Okay.
No, that's not the only reason we picked you, Eddie. Okay, Juan, geez, you can't lead with that.
No, I just wanted to make sure there was some pseudonym aspect going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We better put those hater blockers back down, Juan. Look at that.
I can't see
Look
you
like
when I do, bro. That's why I gotta.
You look like an umpire, like an umpire at a baseball game right now with those on.
Oh, I'm jealous, bro. I think we all need glasses. I think that should be a rule too. Sorry, Eddie. I mean, if you got a pair close by, you know what I mean?
I do. I got a collection of shades, dude. I like to go to like different gas stations and just like take a pair off of the rack, dude. It's a weird collection thing I got.
You steal
going
those
on.
too, Eddie?
Nah, my stealing days are over, dude. I did have a bad habit when I was a kid, but
Eddie,
no,
have you
man.
ever been up to San Francisco at all?
Yeah, dude. I was like I was mentioning before we started the podcast. I
Yeah.
lived up in Northern California for an entire year from in 2021, and I'm a plumber, so I plumbed from Oakland all the way up to Sea Ranch. So I spent
the Sea Ranch, dude. The Sea
Yeah.
Ranch is so sick, dude.
You've been to Mount
Yeah,
Shasta
amazing
too, right,
place.
Eddie?
I have. It's a very cool, trippy little town.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
that mountain, black helicopters. I seen black helicopters when I was driving down the freeway one time. Military, all blacked out,
What?
no bullshit. Yep. And they say that they go into Shasta, and Shasta's like on some weird shit. The reason why I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
about San Francisco is though there's a super cool Masonic building in the top of one of those hills. It's got all
Yeah.
these huge Egyptian hieroglyphs etched into the wall. Dude, it's so cool.
Yeah, you're
But
talking about the one that looks like very like government building, like a huge one.
totally.
Yeah. I got a picture of it. I used to pass by it every morning on my way to work.
That's a super weird. The reason I was bringing up San Francisco is because I always got like really weird vibes there for some reason. Like it's super esoteric place for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah, there's energy there for sure. A
Right?
lot of history and stuff going on.
Yeah, bro. A lot of history
Now-
with those all those buildings and all those fraternal organizations and stuff. But there's also a lot of talk like within like architecture, like that city being built out in like an esoteric way, like like the DC structure and whatnot.
Right. I was just
Yeah.
having a conversation about that. That's why I was late. I had Peter Shampoo back on the podcast, and we, funny enough, talked a lot about that. But Eddie, you mentioned the Eastern Lodge.
Yeah.
Have you gone out and found any other strange sort of things or attractions in San Diego? Anything of esoteric significance? I know there's like the JPL Labs was out there at some point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not too familiar with that, but there was another instance I had with the Yellow Deli people.
What?
Are you familiar?
I just saw this.
No.
It's like this weird cult thing.
Well,
Is that
that's
by
what
the
they
lodge
get
that you
accused
got
of.
initiated at, bro? What number lodge you from, bro?
Dude, I'm from the Yellow Deli, dude. Nah. So the Yellow Deli is a restaurant,
It's wild.
and they're originally from San Diego. They have two of them out here, but they're run by like these, like, as you can say, Amish Christians. So it's cult-esque. Like you have to give up all your shit. Like you have to give up your life and your savings and everything, and then to join the church. And then you work on the farm. There's a big farm not too far from here, and then you work for the church. And all the employees at the restaurant are a part of this Amish Christian community. They don't make money while they're working at the restaurant. That's a part of being a part of the church. You have to go work at the restaurant. And yeah, they always get accused of being like this cult. It's a very weird vibe, super good food. But they're like Messianic Christians. So like in their bathroom of the world partying and going one way, and then like this like very like narrow path going up this mountain, a couple like spread out Amish Christians going that way. So they're like Messianic. They believe in the end times and that the world is damned and all this stuff. And they got cool literature too. I got some of their newspapers where they talk about like all the Club 27 rock stars selling their souls and stuff. But I have a tattoo on my arm that's in Hebrew, right? It says Elohim. Gets me into trouble all the time because people think that, one, I'm either Arab or Middle Eastern, which I'm not, or they think I'm Jewish or something. But it's like, nah, dude, I'm just a weird Mexican, you know. But so I'm eating at the Yellow Deli, and one of the elders there sees my tattoo, and he starts speaking in Hebrew, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, no, I don't know anything. And he's like, but we start talking about philosophy and religion and stuff. And then he's like, dude, I'd love to have you come have dinner with us. So I guess every Friday they invite, people who are interested to go have dinner at their ranch. where they cook you fresh caught salmon from their team and stuff. So me and my boy decided to go out one night, and
Dude, they were trying to recruit your ass, boy.
either that or sacrifice us, man. I don't know. But so long story short, me and my homie go out there, and we, out of all the days, we decided to wear all black, and we're like having a hard time find the place on the ranch. And then we stumble upon like their Airbnb, and like we're like knocking on windows wearing all black, and there's some kids in there in the Airbnb. So we're like looking like serial killers now. And we're like, dude, we're just trying to find the main farm. Eventually we find it, and then this weird like sketch out dude comes out like, like, what are you guys doing in the dark? Why are you knocking on our windows and stuff? So we're trying to find the entrance, like we were invited to have dinner here. And then of course the guy who invited me wasn't even there. So it's just weird off the jump. So we end up being sat right next to what we didn't know at the time, like the leaders of the church across from us, just kind of talking to us, kind of like trying to get our attention. And then they purposefully sit like this very investigative dude right next to me, who you could say was like, in the prime sense of the literal word, satanic, right? Like he was the adversary, like he was purposely put there to like investigate me. And my homie's like next to me, like just eating salmon, high as hell, like not even like just oblivious to the whole situation. I'm like trying to eat my food while this dude's like just investigating me, like, so what do you think about God? Like, what are your beliefs on God? And like, I'm baked, so I decide, you know what, like, let me blow some minds. So I'm like trying to go out into like the Anunnaki and ancient alien stuff, and like instantly this guy just gets like filled with like anger and sadness, and like to the point of like tearing up, and like holding his steak knife and like looking at me saying, like, I remember vividly, he looked at me and he said, those words fill me with anger. And
oh my God.
And he's just saying like, you really believe that? He's like, you believe my father, the creator of all, is just an alien?
He was the biggest one of them all, bro.
He was the OG alien, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, he was the OG alien, if that helps. But at that moment,
what a selfish bastard. He thought he was, don't you think like some people are selfish? Like, listen, there's gots to be aliens, right? And if so, there's gots to be a higher power above them too, right? There's just gots to be up and up and up and up. It goes up and up. You have to imagine. So that's selfish of him to think that way, right? Like a little bit.
Oh no, I don't know. It sounds to me like whatever aliens is ahead of his cult is doing a good job of keeping him in line. That's the objective, right?
You're right.
Like, but I don't know. As somebody who doesn't really buy into that theory, I could see why that's insulting to suggest that, like, some foreign body came out of nowhere and created us, like we're this insignificant. I think that's part of the lie. I think that's part of the deception, is to get us to all feel like we're small and insignificant. I'm sure you would agree with me, Eddie. I think you were just put in an odd position and wanted to make some interesting table conversation without going too deep, because like you said, the guy who invited you, who you initially connected with, didn't even fucking show up. Yeah. So that sounds like a wild occurrence. But do you actually, what are your thoughts on like ancient alien theory? Do you think that, because the airplay on History Channel alone should make anyone suspicious. It's basically like half of their network.
Yeah. And actually my thought process when he asked me was like, let me just tell the truth. Let me be genuine about what I believe. Right. And like, that's where I always get caught in like, do you tell the truth, or do you kind of like, just tell people what they want to hear sometimes, because like being righteous is a hard thing to do in a world full of lies, so being genuine and standing in your truth can be damaging to other people. So sometimes, like when I'm talking to people out in the streets, I don't tell them everything I know or think, because it might actually save them from detriment.
Save you from risk sometimes. You piss somebody off. It sounds like the guy gripped his steak knife pretty
listen, you son of a bitch.
He was vividly like angry and like sad, like tearing up. So we got saved by the bell. Like somebody told him to go do some dishes or something, and then I was like, yo, let's get the hell out of here. So we like just bolted out of there. But
why'd you show up, bro? Like why would you go there? Like, it's so sketch.
Why not? Dude, curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah. I was with my homie.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I was with my homie who's a videographer. So like Like I was always trying to get him like to film stuff. Dude, I was like, dude, get your camera out. Let's film this experience. But he's always like, you know, he just didn't want to at the moment. But my actual beliefs, man, is like I first and foremost, I believe in the source. I believe in the creator. I believe that there is an ultimate benevolent conscious force that has our best interests at heart. It's just up to us to connect to that and be conscious of it and be in tune with that. And more so, you know, do our work here on this earth as people to leave this place better off than we found it. But as far as like the aliens and all that stuff, like I grew up in a Christian family, right? Christian and Catholic, and I was pretty indoctrinated in that institution growing up. But once I stumbled upon Zecharia Sitchin's work, it like blew my mind because it just how he goes deeper into the Bible, you know. And Sitchin he wasn't trying to tear down the Bible. If anything, he was trying to bring like ultimate veracity to it, you know, by detailing all this stuff about the Hebrew Bible and our ancient past with gods and whatnot. And just as he stated, you know, even the Anunnaki didn't believe that they were the end all be all creators. They simply, if we take the story for true, they simply designed a certain line of humanoids, which is the Homo sapien race. But even they spoke in their writings of a creator of all. So I don't view the Anunnaki as the end all be all creators. I think that there's definitely some evidence for the Homo sapien race being genetically designed. But
absolutely. Yeah,
that's kind of.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, man. I see that completely. And it is interesting, like how people will hear one thing and then conflate what you're saying to this thing that they object to. You know, like you don't necessarily object to them, but because you triggered their, you know, sort of righteousness, you know, maybe like a lesser manifestation of righteousness, they kind of just cannot engage in any open discussion after that point. You know, it's like you suggest that Anunnaki were a link in the chain somehow. They're like, oh, that's not my father. I'm not, you know. It's the same thing with evolution. Like sometimes I use the word evolution in a podcast and I'm like, oh God, are the Christian listeners going to get pissed at me because I said the word evolution? And dude, our last video that we just put out, somebody commented and they were like, they said, you guys use God's name in vain. You're going to be in huge trouble. They said, they misspelled huge, but they said, we're going to be in huge trouble, guys. Hit that Illuminati confirmed sound button, Juan. We're fucked.
Illuminati confirmed.
Oh, no. That's so good. That one's so good.
No, but 100% people's beliefs, right? They form. I 100% believe in emanationism, where you radiate your reality, and some people radiate their own realities within themselves, and they live in these little bubbles. And when you pierce that bubble, if you will, right? Like how you said, you watch the fluoride stare in their face, where they're like, "What do you mean the Anunnaki? What is the Anunnaki?" I was like, "Well, it's an ancient alien race." And I mean, if you're really that shaky in your beliefs, then are they really your beliefs? Because if you wholeheartedly believe that something is 100% to be true, no matter what I say will, you know, shake you from your foundation type of thing. So again, but you have people who are living a facade due to the indoctrination of society today, where they get pushed these beliefs upon themselves and they have no other way of getting out of it, right? Because of cultural influences, societal influences, familial influences, whatever it may be. And they're living that reality only because it was presented to them when they were born. You know what I mean? So we're all living our own simulations in some sort of way at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I try to like bring universal truth if I can, you know, because like the endless debates are just frustrating, you know. Like I was watching a video the other day of like Satanists debating Christians, and then you can kind of just see both of them just fumbling over what they believe. And it's like, man, you guys don't even know what you believe. You don't even know the history of what it is you believe. So when I do my work, I try to just come unbiased, neutral, and just be like, yo, these are the facts. And from there, we can move forward as a civilization, because that's my goal, really. My ultimate goal, my you know, is to get us so that we can just stop arguing about certain things. Like and then establish the facts about those things, and then just move forward as a planet.
And you said facts,
Well
Eddie,
said.
right? You have history where you're in your book. I read your book, The Lucifer Mystery Unveiled, or was it revealed? Right, revealed. Yeah, my bad, bro. I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
The where you present the facts from a historical point of view of who Lucifer was, and you kind of shine light on it. But then even that history, some people don't take it for fact because, oh no, it goes, Lucifer is actually, again, back to the religion aspect of things, this indoctrination that they're in, that brainwashing, and they won't believe it, even if you present it to them from a scholarly point of view, from a multidisciplinary point of view, they still don't take that shit because, bro, it's ingrained in their fucking DNA, as deep as it'll go.
Yo, Chris.
Yeah, dude.
Chris, are you super excited right now? Because Eddie, you don't know this, but Chris was telling me and Juan, he's like, dude, we need a historian on the podcast, okay? We need someone to go into the history, all right? And I would love to know where Lucifer begins. Like, what were you able to trace back, like the first iteration of Lucifer in history?
Yes, with what was available to me. But yes, so it all starts with the famous Isaiah 14:12 verse, which we would know it as, "O Lucifer, how art thou fallen?" Right? The famous verse in Isaiah 14:12. Now, that was presented to the Western world through the King James version of the Bible, the English version. And in that version, it's only used once. And it's used as an uppercase pronoun, right? Name. But it was translated from the Latin, which was translated from the Greek, which was translated from the original Hebrew. And if we follow that translation, we can see how we came to this conundrum of having an uppercase name. It never started off as that, per se. Do you guys want me to get into it? I just know I've said this like on
I don't know why.
podcasts
I
and
don't know
stuff,
why Juan laughed, but I mean,
No,
Chris
because
and I are on the edge of our seats.
Because I had a PhD on the podcast one time. Shout out to Dr. Joseph B. Lumpkin, where
What? Joseph Blumpkin?
B. Lumpkin, bro. Bro, listen, this guy's legit. We should probably have him on. I don't know if he'll be
sorry.
on. But
Chris,
this dude's a legit.
Yeah, not after he hears this.
He's
Chris
a
Blumpkin.
You know what, Mark? I'm tired of your shit, bro. I quit the show. Listen, he has a PhD.
I never know if Juan's joking when he's not joking.
Bro, but let me finish. He has a PhD in church history, and I was going back at it with him about demons and all this stuff like that because he's written an encyclopedia on rejected scripture. Okay, this guy's legit. So he was going on about it. I go, listen, what about all these different translations? Because the original translation was, and I think I said Greek. He goes, no, it was actually da da da. I go, you're just proving my point that they translate one translation to another one, to another one, to another one. And it makes me laugh because people take this shit seriously. You know what I mean? Like they take it for verbatim, and it's like, wait, it's not even supposed to. I'm sorry, Eddie. These gentlemen here are so unprofessional. This is how you treat a guest, bro?
No, you're good, man. I am not easily offended.
Ouch, bro, those are our feelings, Juan.
Hey, he's not Joseph B. Lumpkin. Sorry, Joseph, if you're listening. Eddie's got a cool last name. That's why he's on the show. He won't tell us that it's so cool.
It's all love. It's all love. But yeah, I just don't know if you guys wanted me to get into it because I know I mentioned already on your podcast and.
No, you're
That's
good.
Right. I'm sure the one-on-one listeners would like to hear it again. I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So where we would see Lucifer in the Hebrew Old Testament, we would see Hallel ben Shahar, and Hallel is a name which means bright or shiny. It's like naming a person bright. So what was being said was Hallel, son of Shahar, and that's where we get the Lucifer, son of the morning, because Shahar was an old world word for the dawn, right? And then that was
a Jay-Z song. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed it, but that Jay-Z song on the Black Album where Kanye samples that beat from Lee Perry, Lucifer, son of the morning, that whole shit. That's what that is.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, it's a dope old school reggae song by,
Mm-hmm.
yep, Lee
Lee
Scratch Perry,
Mhm.
R.I.P. Right? But yeah, so it goes from Hillel Ben Shahar to the proper translation in the Greek to phosphorus, which is could be fire, can be light. And in the Greek, it's used as a lowercase, and it's also used multiple times throughout the Old Testament. And then from there, we went to the Latin, which was, and there it was properly translated as Lucifer, because that is a Latin word, but it was used as a lowercase word. Excuse me. And in the Latin, it was used multiple times as a lowercase word. And the Latin word Lucifer is comprised of two root words, lus and fere, which means light and to bring or to hold. That's where the occult got the light bringer or light bearer idea of Lucifer. And then we went from the Latin to the English, and that's where things got messed up. We lost the lowercase, we lost the multiple usages, and we just decided to throw it in one verse, which is the Isaiah 14:12 verse, and use it as an uppercase. Now, there's a couple other things that we have to take into consideration. Number one is Isaiah, the prophet, was an educated and intellectual scribe, and he wrote this polemical, condemnation or prophecy right around the time the Babylonians were descending on Judea, which is around 600 BC. So what he was writing was actually a prophecy of the downfall of the Babylonians. So all this Lucifer talk or Hillel Ben Shahar talk was being directed towards the Babylonian kings. And he decided to use the terminology Hillel Ben Shahar because he was referring to two main things. One, an old Canaanite tale, and Venus. Now, in the old Canaanite tale, known as the Baal cycle text, which we uncovered in the 1930s, we see that there was an old Canaanite deity by the name of Athtar, who was also known as Hillel, and that he was just this lower ranking deity who was trying to step up to the throne, but realized he wasn't, fit to rule, so he was asked to step down or whatever. Just this random little story. But also Hillel, Athtar, phosphorus, and the Latin Lucifer are all words that can represent Venus. And Athtar specifically goes back to Astarte or Ishtar, and all the way back to the Sumerian Inanna. And all these goddesses are also represented by Venus. And Venus, in its celestial mythology, is the brightest celestial object in the sky in the morning that preceding the sun. So what Isaiah was doing was using this metaphorical language about Athtar or Hillel, with this old Canaanite deity that wasn't fit to rule, and also Venus, which is the brightest object in the sky preceding the sun, right? Hillel Ben Shahar, son of the morning, and saying that the Babylonian kings, they might think of themselves as great or significant, but they will soon be overshadowed by the sun or God.
Hail Bob. And for you fucks laughing, this is the encyclopedia of Mr. Joseph B. Lumpkin. And this dude's legit, bro. I have all the rejected scriptures of the Bible. We got the Book of Enoch in here, which we can get into, Eddie. We got all the good shit.
All right.
So
Eddie,
good. Nobody has to go ahead.
At some level, is this, I feel like, honestly, like all this esoteric shit, like cave people, whatever, but like at some point it just feels like the gods are obviously the planets because they're like untouchable, they're always there, they're omnipresent, they're like, I don't know, there's cycles that happen, you can kind of like put them on to lay them over other cycles, and you kind of get like a picture of where you are at in the universe with that kind of knowledge. And it just feels like that's the long story short, that's like where we all come from, sitting around a fire, like telling stories, looking at the gods, talking about them. Oh, this one's got this power and this one can do that. And then you're telling us that Satan might actually just be Venus.
It's made up, bro.
And then Kronos is just Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, at some level, like, I know we got all the books and I know we got all the disciples, and that just somehow coordinates with the planet, the number of planets. It's just, it all just seems like at some level, maybe this is just like campfire stories about that have been so many layered upon layered upon layered upon. And now we have like culture that's like based on it. And like, it's just so fucking bizarre if you zoom out.
Yeah, you have Jesus and the 12 disciples. Jesus becomes the son. That's why he's the son of God. And then the 12 disciples become the 12 zodiac signs. I mean, that's what it's all about. But some people's their reality is ingrained in this stuff, bro. People die and get killed because of it. They will literally die for their faith. This is why you have, again, out in the Middle East, not to point anybody out, but these people literally die for their religion thinking that they're promised something else. Nietzsche said, be weary of those, I'm paraphrasing, be weary of those who offer you otherworldly goods or something like that. You know, like he understood that in this reality that we're in, is the only one that can be experienced. So don't focus on what Plato was talking about, you know, an Anaximander, or he talked about the reflection of this universe is a reflection of a more divine universe, because they were demeaning this reality. This is what religions do. They demean this reality and prepare you for one that is above this one. Like, what does that even mean? We're only experiencing this one right now, so focus on this life right now. But you have the Egyptians who were focused on the afterlife, prepping their bodies for what? So they could come back later and take their bodies back? Like, you know, what's up? You know what I mean?
See, that's interesting though, Juan, because the Egyptians is specifically, like, I'm into, like, I think you can probably agree with me here, Eddie, like, as far as, like, graphic design is concerned. Like, I really stumbled onto all the esoteric when, like, 14 maybe years ago, something like that, because of graphic design, and specifically looking at hieroglyphics, because it's a language of logos, and it's like telling you things in logo shorthand. It's really super interesting. You find that hieroglyphs, you find that, like, you know, certain parts of the world, right? And it's like, why is there certain similarities between them? Why? What's the through line story wise? And they always seem to kind of come back to these things, which are like the planets, and then some sort of like dogma religion that's built around basically those things. And then it's all seems to be same bullshit control systems at some level to make you just not appreciate life. And then the interesting thing about that is, if you're talking about I forgot the term you used, but it's basically the same as the logo of the sun. And it's the way the Egyptians did it was the sun rays each were given out unks, which is life, the symbol of life to people. That's emanationism, right? It's like, that's what it is, for Christ's sakes. And that's what it appears to be in a logo form to me. And I've never seen anybody, and I think as a designer, you can appreciate, I don't think we've ever seen anybody do it that well before or since.
No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, people, like, religion today is viewed as like this fraternity or this community that you can join. All right. I mean, that's what it is now. It's just an institution. Religion is just now an institution. But when you take any religion, you know, whether it's the Egyptian religions back to its source, it all always started with an event. And I think those events, those source events, are what we should be studying, not necessarily all the stuff that came later. Like, for example, the event in Islam was that Allah descended upon Muhammad and then, like, gave him all the stuff and dictated to him, you know, what you should do. And then, you know, with the Egyptians, the source material, the source work for them was the pyramid text. And it really wasn't about like this, like, religious ceremonial stuff. It was about preparing for the transition over to the afterlife, and some interesting stuff about it. Like, you're going to encounter entities and this and that. So that could be, so that could be getting into like the Akashic records or just the different dimensions that may exist, you know. And so for me, it's like, today religion is viewed as just as institution, and people view it that way, like, oh, you're a Christian because you follow so and so traditions. But it's like, Christianity never started off as that. Christianity, the event that started Christianity was Jesus, right? So when you study the events, the source that sparked these religions, I think that's what we should be studying if we're going to study anything at all.
Yo, Jesus seems to me just like upgraded code.
He was Neo in the Matrix, bro. He was able to step outside the fabric of time and space. That's why he was able to walk on water and perform miracles and do all this crazy stuff, because again, he was some sort of, if you follow Gnostic cosmology, Christ, it's only a title. And the Christ consciousness possessed Jesus when he was baptized. That's why the Mandaeans follow the baptism to a T, and they worship John the Baptist because they thought he was the actual Messiah. So you have these Messiah figures all throughout all of history. You have Buddha, Krishna, Vishnu, El, whoever you want to call him, Quetzalcoatl, anyone, take your pick. I believe they were all the same people who were able to tap into what Eddie was talking about, this Akashic records, if you will. That's the original, the OG cloud. Moses was able to tap into and download some esoteric occult information from the OG cloud, which is God, the center. Because if you look at the Greeks believed in a source. I'm on the same boat as you, Eddie. I believe in the one that emanates reality outwards, right? And you have in Hindu cosmology where their Trinity, which is where the Christian Trinity came from, their Trinity is the destroyer, the creator, and the preserver. Right. And that's where Christianity took their Trinity from. It was first in the Hindu cosmology. But again, you have a chimeric religion formed on what Eddie's talking about. It's a brokered experience. It is, hey, you can't achieve divinity unless it's through us. You pay us enough money, and we might save you a seat.
Bro, that's cherry picking. That's cherry picking 101.
100%, bro. The Council of Nicaea did that shit, bro. They said,
fuck out of here, nerds.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Seriously.
One time I'm sitting there, my parents are both Catholic, and I'm sitting there around the Christmas table, right? Christmas dinner table. And the local church main guy, priest, whatever the fuck, came. And dude, he started digging into me. He started giving me a hard time at the fucking table.
Did he touch you, Chris?
Dude, I went over the top. I started yelling at this motherfucker, dude. Like, I don't play that shit, dude. Listen, you guys have basically ruined the world time and time again. And now you're going to come do it at our dinner table? You can get fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Fuck out of here, nerds.
Yeah, straight up.
Fuck out of here.
That's kind of the way I view it too, man. It's like just posers, bro. It's just posers on posers, you know?
Hell
like,
yeah, dude.
You know, like I said earlier, I was watching this debate with the Satanist and the Christian, and it's just like, dude, they both are just like posers to me. It's
Stupid.
Like, you're just wearing these thought beliefs, you know, as like your personality when they're not. That's what I'm saying. It's like people take religion as if it's supposed to be like a personality. It's like, dude, religion.
It's an egregore, Eddie. It's an egregore because it's a thought form that became something, and it was a living, breathing thing. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
What I'm trying to like convey, and it's something that I've been trying to put in like a philosophical way, but it's just something that I've realized. It's like people take religions or beliefs and try to wear them as personalities or something. I'm a Christian, but it's like, dude, Christianity or any religion started from an event between a very specific person and another person, right? So it's like for example, like the ancient Americas, right? Mm-hmm. All these civilizations and religious customs were started that revolve around the event of Quetzalcoatl coming and teaching the original indigenous people how to do things and then piecing out. It's like that's their origin event. Mm-hmm. But it's like we take that event and then we're so moved by it, right? We're so moved by it, like, damn, that was like epic. And then we just create these like monolithic institutions that revolve it. And it's like, we need to deconstruct that institution and just go back to the event and then, be respectful about it. Like, damn, that was a dope event.
Bro, what are they saying? Bro, what the fuck are they saying? Oh, word? Jesus said, love each other. Moving on. Next. The fucking it.
Yeah, but Chris, it's what we talked about earlier this week.
It's so crazy to me.
Where
it's like, you're going to get all this funny outfit. You're going to take all these people money and you're going to make them feel a type of way. And then they're going to come in, especially with like Latin community and, you know what I mean? Like with the Catholicism and you get babies and now you can't have babies and you got to do this and you can't do that. And the mind fuckery, you got to say, you know what I mean? Like that is fucked up generations of people. And from just be as good of a person as often as you can.
But here's the thing, dude. I think, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think not so much that they're wrong. Maybe they're misled, but you have to understand that everybody as a collective, what me and you talked about earlier this week, where everyone has bits and pieces of the truth, but the puzzle isn't in the right position. So just because they're wrong about it doesn't mean that they have bits and pieces of it that are right. And that's what we're all trying to figure out with this esoteric and occult shit. We're trying to figure out the bigger picture of what it truly was. Does it truly lead back to the Anunnaki? Or does it go, right? The Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest literature that we have. What happened before that? You know, what were people doing? You know, you have Plato, the Grapha Dogmata, these unwritten doctrines which existed all throughout history. What about the stuff that they didn't write down? That they didn't put down in the Emerald tablets? That they didn't put down in the, what are the tablets with the Anunnaki that Sitchin talked about? Was it the not the Illuminati, the other one? You know,
Sumerian King List.
The Sumerian King List, but there was another one. There was some tablets that he translated.
Not the tablets with Emerald tablets.
Was it the Emerald tablets?
No, that's
he
like
spoke about a bunch. But,
oh well. Anyways, you know what I mean.
But look,
Eddie,
go ahead.
Eddie, can you give us like not like a synopsis, but can you give us like some of your like kind of theories in like quick form, like, you know, like where you fall on a bunch of different topics, I guess? Because, you know, sometimes I want to talk to a guy like yourself for like fucking hours, be like, pick your brain on, I hate that saying, but it's like, pick your brain on all these different. Can you give us like, oh yeah, like, no, it's a Saturn moon matrix, David Icke was right the whole time, or flat earth, like, listen, you guys are fucking up, it's really a flat earth, like, just come on over this side. Can you hit us with like a couple pretty quick ones?
Yeah, I'm down for that. Before we do, I just wanted to bring something up real quick that kind of like better explains what I was trying to say a moment ago, right? So like the Emerald tablets, for example, it's another case where something was started, an event happened, and then after that, an institution was formed, and then the institution takes over the original motive of the event. You know,
this priest class.
Example, pretty much. For example, like the Emerald tablets is a huge topic in our community, right? In the truther community, conspiratorial community, people make movies, documentaries, books on it. But I never once hear, or very seldom hear, people talk about how we were actually presented this knowledge. And I've done a small video on it on my Instagram, but I might do a longer video. But there's a dude from America in the 1930s, 40s. Who started a spiritual fraternity by the name of the Brotherhood of the White Temple, and Dr. M. Dorial, and he claims to have been in contact with monks in Shambhala over in Tibet, and he goes over there, and he was the one who was commissioned by these monks to translate the Emerald tablets into English, and he only gave permission to one other person to translate them into Spanish, and he was like a Mexican spiritualist. And then so the Emerald tablets that we all know and love, right, the ones on Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get them from, came from this dude, Dr. M. Dorial, who was cool and interesting, who was a cool and interesting spiritualist, occultist from America, who claims to have been given the task from some monks in Tibet to translate them. Right. So it's like, that's the initial event. And then here we are, like in the truth community, like holding up the Emerald tablets as actual, like they were written by Thoth, the Atlantean and shit, which I don't doubt. I love the Emerald tablets, you know, powerful stuff, but it's like, we're just missing the source.
Dude, we're playing a game of telephone and we're arguing over the King James version. It's like, you guys don't understand. It was fucking translated 7 times before it got translated into the King James version.
Exactly.
We're arguing over semantics of semantics of semantics. It's utterly fucking retarded, for lack of a better word.
For real, dude. But yeah,
it's frustrating. It's frustrating sometimes. It's like, dude, like I've listened to all these videos. I was brought up by aliens and this, that, and it's like, at some point you're like, yo, you got a Polaroid? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
A thing under your skin, like,
dude.
Yeah, but Chris, and this is an entirely different conversation, but Chris, how do you know that like the alien beings don't like know psychically that they can just like sense the camera and avoid those people who have cameras? I mean, you always hear about people getting abducted out in the middle of nowhere, you know. Tripoli just said it on the latest episode. He's like, how come it's always people out in the sticks that are getting this interdimensional butt play or something like that, you know? And he's got a point, you know. It's just, I don't think that the aliens are going to go and abduct a camera crew, you know. It just doesn't.
With you. I was just talking about this with my buddy the other day. It's like, it totally makes sense. It's like, clearly, if there's aliens, they don't want to be discovered, because if they did, they'd just pull up, be like,
"What's up?"
I just think,
"What's up, bitch?"
I think it's It's a different. I think it's entirely different than that. I think it's like the only people with the intention and frequency that is sort of in line with their intentions can even see them. So just by holding a camera, you're carrying with you an intention that's outside of their realm of possibilities. So you cannot interact with them. So you're almost like denying yourself an experience when you go and try to like capture Bigfoot on film or capture an alien on film. I think there's a certain psychic frequency that's in play somehow, and it fits in totally with the esoteric stuff, because that's what these cults, for lack of a better term, secret societies, they use these techniques to dabble in the psychic realm. I mean, this guy who is an occultist, I assume he either met with a group of Tibetan monks actually, or because there are a lot of people at that time period who were using that line to make people interested in what they had to say. Maybe they channeled it, which I think that's a whole entirely different argument. Maybe we ought to have a channeler on the show at some point in time. But I think that when we talk about channeled text, it's like, what is consciousness in itself? Because like if somebody could channel something from the Akasha record, how is that any different than like Michelangelo inventing what he invented, like, and all these other, or Da Vinci, what I mean? Like all these other like creative geniuses, Tesla, Einstein, they talk about these thought experiments that they do, and these things sort of grand ideas come to them seemingly from nowhere. So maybe, works of great literary, potential could work along the same lines. Doesn't mean it's altogether fictional. I think that's the trouble we have with our society. We're so logical that we want to know the distinction. Like, is this nonfiction or fiction? And channeling blurs the lines in a really interesting way that makes you question consciousness.
Finish him.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot, buddy.
No, that was epic.
That was beautiful, bro.
I resonate with that. And I just want to say, I don't know, but I back up Dr. M. Doria. Like, all right, dog, I believe you. Like, for real, But just to put simply, just to end that whole thought form that I was been trying to say is, I think that we need to stop viewing esoteric knowledge that was passed down to us as belief systems to indoctrinate our lives, and view the knowledge as just that knowledge that we are supposed to apply to our lives, instead of belief systems to indoctrinate our lives.
Eddie, so wait a minute. So we shouldn't listen to the esoteric or occult shit? Like, it's just is made up? It's just parables, aphorisms?
We got to look at it case by case.
Eddie, if you don't have a podcast already, you should do a podcast, and the name is Esoteric Applied, because that's dope. I love the way you said that, because I think there's so much truth in that, like taking these esoteric practices and exposing them for what they are. Because the more you learn about them, the more you see like they're kind of out there in the open. It's just people only see one side of it. They've been taught to see only the exoteric side of things.
Yeah. I don't know. A couple people have asked me about starting a podcast, man. But now that I've been a guest on like several, I'm like, man, it looks like a lot of work. I'd rather just be the guest.
I hear that.
What's the applied knowledge? What's the takeaway? So you learn all this kind of stuff, right, over the course of, let's say, a decade.
Yeah.
Right? And you're looking at Anunnaki. You're looking at hollow moon. You're looking at butt plug theory. You're looking at mammalians. You're looking at marsupial theory. You're looking at lizards.
I heard that earlier. I don't know. I think there's something to that. I don't know if Juan was like pulling our leg or something, but Eddie, have you ever heard of marsupial theory?
Fuck you guys.
No, maybe in a different name, but no, not that name.
Okay. Yeah. We stumbled upon, Juan sent us this weird post about marsupial theory, and some people think that it's actually marsupials that run the world and not reptilians, but
oh gosh,
the speculation on speculation on speculation continues.
It never ends.
Anyway, point being, Eduardo,
no, Esoteric Eddie, bro. What's wrong with you, dog?
You're looking at NASA. You're looking at interdimensional. You're looking at the subgenius. You're looking at all this cool shit, you know, SR, fucking Bob, whatever, laser, and you know, you're looking at all this cool shit. It's all cool. It's all super fun. You know, it really is. It's like super like, oh wow, I got the inside scoop. I heard about this. Aliens live underwater, and you don't know about it. Whatever, right? So boom. So you've learned all this stuff, including ancient. You know, I'm sure Kabbalah. Shout out, motherfucker. You listen to all this shit, right? Like a lot of Masonic shit. You know, a lot, and a lot of it's just in the pop mainstream culture. What are your takeaways, man? What do you think? Like, how do you apply this information? What does it do to you?
Yeah, for sure. Before I get into that, Esoteric Eddie is actually short for Esotericological Eduardo.
See, motherfucker.
Now I'm just fucking with you. No, I'm just fucking with you. But
guy's a fucking troll, bro.
Man. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think us in the as we call it, the truther community, sometimes take it for privilege or advantage that we know all this stuff, and we're kind of just like, whatever. But there was a time when I was indoctrinated in the ways of the institutions of the world. It's a very short time, but I was as a kid. And there's people that I come across every day that are just living with these blinders on, that like wholeheartedly believe the mainstream and are filled with fear and just, and not even like when it comes to conspiratorial or spiritual stuff, but just like basic, day-to-day life stuff. Like I got friends that, younger, older than me, that are just lost in their lives, don't know how to even put together a resume or something, And so I think us specifically, like we're privileged to know what we know and to have gone through the battles we've had to get to this point, to know what we do and be able to apply it in our lives. So sometimes I have to sit back and remind myself that like, damn, like I'm in a good spot spiritually, emotionally, and other areas of my life. But after researching all this stuff, having real life experiences, psychedelic experiences, paranormal experiences, and just studying for year after year after year, it's as cliche as just anything else, man. You just, if I had to put it in a sentence, it's for one, we live in a world that is being ran by corrupt people, right? I mean, just the other day, me and my wife were talking, like we were watching this debate with Satanists and the Christians, and there was a point that the Christian lady brought up that I thought was a good point, which is, it was like, who are we allowing to run the world? Who is leading us? I mean, honestly, like, who is leading us? Who's leading this world? There are people out there, who didn't have a good upbringing, don't really have real actual father figures in their life, or might have fathers that didn't actually teach them how to be a good person or how to like get their responsibilities done, right? But if you take that, outside of just your family, I mean, people are looking to the government to tell them how to live life, what life's about. People are looking at NATO, these globalist governments, on how to operate. But man, all of that is a massive illusion, because really, we are very significant beings, man. Like, let's cut the bullshit. I mean, what is this? What are we doing? We are very significant, and what we are part of right now in this moment is miraculous. And we're letting what tell us how to live and run this world? Who is leading this, right? And when you start to uncover that and you start to see the unfortunate truth about what's leading us and where it's leading us to, then you start to realize the importance of your personal power and responsibility in your life first, and the lives of those people around you, and then eventually the rest of the world community.
That was beautiful.
Well said, man.
That was beautiful, yeah. 100%.
So be a good person.
I mean, that's one way to put it, but yes. But that's base one, right? That's step one. That's something we should have been taught as kids. That's the kid level of it. But and then it gets higher than that. But it doesn't need to get higher, right? We're all called for different things. Some people honestly are doing God's work by just being a normal person and getting up and going to work and helping their family. Sometimes that's really what some people on this earth are called to do. we might call them NPCs or whatever.
Garden gnomes. That's what I call them.
But yeah, man, it's wild out there. And when you get into the spiritual aspect of it, the occult spiritual aspect of it, then you get into the place where we're blending good and evil. And it's like, well, what's good and what's evil? What's right and what's wrong? And then really, when you get to that point, it's like, what purpose are you serving? What master are you serving in this dualistic nature of reality? So that's why I say be a good person is a very low aspect of it, because you get to a point in your mind in the rabbit hole where you're like, am I even a good person, or am I just following fucking orders?
So how do you know?
That's gnosis, Chris. That's the truth to you. I mean, that's what they were all about. Whatever the truth is to you. I mean, I don't know what, I'm not speaking for Eddie, but that's the way I see it. Gnosis is sacred knowledge to oneself. And whatever you do with that knowledge is up to you, essentially, because you can, it's like the spirit of destiny. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil.
No, I fully understand the concept. Trust me, I'm just pulling on the string to see where we go with it. Like, but I'm saying, like, think about it from like a sociopath standpoint. They're doing God's work too.
Oh fuck, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, literally, quite literally, some of them think that.
You know, clearly I don't agree with that type of behavior. I'm just saying it's justified in their mind. Like they're like, yeah, like like Dexter or some shit. He's like, listen. Because I like think about it too. Like, listen, if I'm gonna be a bad guy, should I be a real bad guy, and should I do it for good reasons?
Yeah,
that's deep as fuck, bro. That's too deep.
I'm just saying, man. Like, listen, like it gets weird. Like, was Joan of Arc right for killing people? Did she hear God in her head? I don't know. I don't begin to presume to know, but.
And there's something interesting with that. I'm not sure. Have you guys ever heard of the bicameral mind theory?
Oh yeah, we were gonna talk about this shit. Yo, hit us with that. Let's go.
I just recently stumbled upon it, and I want to do more research, but it just adds a whole level to this. So there's a guy. I'm not gonna pull up his name because I'll probably get it wrong, but his last name was Janes. So there was a professor who came up with the bicameral mind theory, and he postulates that just how today we have a voice in our head, right? Like how you hear your own voice in your head, you're conscious, like, oh, maybe should I do that? Should I not? Right? When you're thinking, that thinking voice actually is a degraded version of the bicameral mind, and that voice used to actually used to be like very distinct in our minds, to the point where it was like schizophrenic. And this was actually going back to our primitive days of Homo sapien times, our primitive days. And this was our subconscious mind having its own distinct self. And it was used as like a survival thing, like, don't do that, right? And then as we developed consciously as civilians, as civilized Homo sapiens, that bicameral mind shifted a little bit. And now we perceive that bicameral mind, which was really our own subconscious all along, as being the voice of dead relatives, or being the voice of the gods and stuff like that.
I love that we're getting into this. I've even heard that, like, the Piscean age that we're exiting, the whole fact of duality, where our mind, our spiritual evolution is in conjunction with the, changing of the signs in the horoscope. And Pisces is a dual sign, and after our bicameral mind, left that proto consciousness stage where it was very much like what we would consider, like a higher organism, like a higher organism mammal, the way they think. And now we're sort of evolving this double, duplicitous mind. I think now we're entering into something completely different, into the collective consciousness united age where everybody at a rapid pace can, be connected with anyone around the globe and share information. And, that's a very Aquarian thing, right? We're entering the Aquarian age. It's all about water. But yeah, man, I love the bicameral minds topic, although I don't remember the guy's name either, nor am I an expert, but I will say, when you do mushrooms, you kind of get back into that proto state of consciousness,
Yeah, I always like to think that when I'm on a shrooms, like that's the shroom consciousness talking to me, like is Julian James,
Okay.
the bicameral mind. But the reason I brought that up is because you mentioned Joan of Arc, what she doing? She heard the voice of God, this, and that, right? And then, but going back to your question, Chris, is like, how do we know we're good? Is that even the purpose and the reason for all this knowledge? I think I mean, it can be that generic or simple, but it can also be complex, and it depends on your personal position in this life and your personal calling. And what I mean by that is like, okay, for example, now we're becoming like uber conscious as beings. Like now we're starting to understand our subconscious and that it has its own function.
Mhm.
And so our purpose right now, okay, sorry, I'm kind of just freestyling right now, but the world, the world is going to do what it wants to do as a collective.
Mhm.
So good and evil is going to shift with the collective. There's always going to be outliers,
Mhm.
right? And our world specifically that we live in right now, with this globalist international world with social media, it shifts due to pop culture, right? Pop culture has just as strong of influence on us as government diction now, right? Back then it was strictly government diction, but then during the Renaissance era, when we kind of did away with, um, state and church, pop culture and free thinking started to take shift of where the world was going. And now in today's world, pop culture and the collective communities shift where things go. I mean, we see it all the time, like on Instagram in real time. Memes happen, and then you see these memes and they become a big thing. So we're living in a meme civilization now. So where we're going to go as a civilization and as good people is going to be dictated by where the pop culture community takes us. But there's always going to be those people like us, I believe, who are going to kind of stick to a more traditional view of spirituality and occultism, and just kind of always say, like, that's fine. We can go there if you guys want to take it there, but let's not forget where we came from. And not just be, and the reason being is because if we want to go to this far out AI dystopian, craziness that Elon Musk and Meta is trying to take us to, at least let some mystics still exist that remember the old world, so that when this shit fails miserably, there'll be a foundation, as there always was, like the Enochian pillars, to teach us how to restart with a good moralistic standing.
That was beautiful.
Nice.
And to add to that conversation, right? We're talking about how you can identify what is good and what is evil, right? You have Nietzsche talking about you said the Ubermensch, right? Where it was this man who made his own morals. He defeated nihilism because without religion, right? Because we've talked about all the bad shit that religion has to offer, 100%, right? It destroys and demeans this fabric of reality, the real world that we're in. But if you have no purpose, right, whatever that is, if you have no purpose and no meaning, it leads to nihilism, which is just you're in this world for nothing. You're just existing. And that's very dangerous as well. And what Nietzsche was talking about, which also Nietzsche inspired Crowley with his will to power, where he believed that the will is this metaphysical aspect that exists in all of us. It's this thing that manifests itself differently within all of us. And depending on how the force, right, the Jedi use it for good and the Sith use it for evil, depending on how you use this will determines the outcome. So a painter will use his will to paint beautiful pictures. A businessman will use his will to make more money. A musician will use his will to make music, right? It's whatever you use it for and whatever you put it. But if you have no foundation, this is what Nietzsche talked about, becoming that overman, becoming the Ubermensch, where it's this man who is above all other men, who has become his own God, right? Who has manifested everything within himself to defeat nihilism in order to have a purpose in life. So essentially, you can become your own God in a sort of way, regardless of the fact. But some people, it's not that simple to them, how Eddie's talking about, because some people live this shit. They eat, live, breathe, and eat it. And it's not as simple as just throwing away all your beliefs and starting your own. Some people need a foundation. Some people need a system. They need something to believe. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's deep, bro. That's philosophy 101 right there, bro. I'm saying.
Yeah, dude. I big up the ancestors, man. Like, sure, I'm an American with a Mexican heritage, but I resonate with all peoples, man. I love all cultures. So, like, when I big up the ancients and the ancestors, and as long as I'm around, I'll always make sure that they're their lessons and what they try to teach us will still exist, because we're one family. We're one human family. Dysfunctional, but we're a family.
I love it, and I definitely recommend, and I'm not just saying this because I just talked to this guy, but Peter Shampoo, bro, I definitely recommend you check out my interview with him and his work, because that's exactly what. No. Listen, he's on a mission right now, dude, and it resonates with what I did yesterday with my walking tour. Like Geronimo's grave was desecrated, his spirit was disinterred and taken from his grave in Oklahoma and brought to Skull and Bones. And because I live around here and because I've known about this stuff, I've researched it. I did a walking tour, and my boy Amos, who taught me all about this stuff, was busy, but he said he was gonna make it. He couldn't make it. That's all right. But we had a good time, altered the collective consciousness in a way. But Peter Shampoo is doing that on a whole nother level. He went to Wounded Knee recently, which is a very famous battle site. It's, where they used to do the ghost dances. And, a lot of the artifacts that were taken from there when those people were massacred went to this place in Massachusetts. And he recently got a group together, and they're going to go and get all those artifacts back and put them back where they belong, which, I think that's really powerful. And I resonate with what you said, Eddie. And I think that's, that's mostly why I suggested it. I also wanted to plug my show. Thanks, Juan. But, I think it's important, for people to connect with their ancestry, and our landscape, wherever we were born, connects us to the history of this place. So it's vital to understand it. And yeah, that's why we love having historians on the show, brother. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. It's wild to be called a historian. Like,
well, I'm not just teasing you. I do believe it. We try to be funny on this show, but you do have legit knowledge. You traced a lot of stuff together today, and yeah, I don't know. I resonate with it.
No, it's cool, man. I say it's cool because I was actually going to community college to be a historian, and my goal was to be the first teacher in San Diego to teach the ancient alien theory, as a course. But then my life went through some major lows, and then I just left community college. This place ain't it, and then became a plumber and did my own thing. And now I'm just independent. I'm an independent historian, so still able to do it.
Eddie, are you on that? Are you on that alien theory though still? Or has your knowledge updated? Has your perspective updated?
Yeah, it has over the years, and yeah, it has. I mean, we can get into it if you guys want to just ask me specific questions, specifically with the Anunnaki.
Hollow Earth, yes or no?
Hollow Earth, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Flat Earth.
I'm gonna be brief with it. Obviously, some of these things need explanation, but we're just gonna be brief with it.
Yeah, quick. Hollow Earth. Yes.
Yeah.
Flat Earth.
No.
Saturn Moon Matrix.
Hell yeah, David.
Hell yeah. Dang. That's so sick. Lizard people.
No.
What?
Damn, Juan, you out, son. Nicholas.
Oh, man.
What was that?
Nicolas Cage is God, is the one true God.
Of course, G.
Hey.
Finish him.
Let's go, bro.
It's interesting because sometimes you want a synopsis. Are we fucking?
Yeah, but Chris, you're not even. That's not anything to do with ancient aliens. All right, what about Machu Picchu? Eddie? Do you think that was built by aliens? I mean, come on, it's on the top of a freaking mountain. How did they move all that stuff up there? What are your thoughts on Machu Picchu?
Man, okay, when we say aliens, we got to be specific, right? Because some people are going to think Greys or reptilians or Anunnaki. And I mean, this is a conspiracy show, so we can be speculative. But again, my work is also to try to bring facts if possible.
This is a Christian podcast, by the way.
It's Yahweh, dude. Yahweh did it all. Yahweh was the original Soldier Boy, dude. He's like, I did it all, baby. Soldier Boy just claims to do it all. Matter of fact, Machu Picchu was built by Soldier Boy.
Yo, ding that shit, bro. Ding that.
Finish him.
Nah, but Machu Picchu, man. I haven't studied that in depth, but from what Sitchin says, it's an interesting story. The four brothers, I think it was four brothers and like two sisters, and the main brother, his name was Manco Capac, and he was told by the gods to carry this golden rod, and then until it like did something, I don't know, and then he found it and then placed it in the ground, and then that was the site for Machu Picchu.
Really? I didn't know that. I'm learning something new today, guys.
Yeah, Manco
That's why I
Capac.
asked him, bro. Eddie knows his shit, dude. Look at that.
So,
I mean, but that's the thing with all of these ancient sites, you hear these mythical, fantastic stories, and it's not limited to South and North America. I mean, it's a global thing, but it really makes you wonder, like, you know, how different the world was. I mean, bringing it back to Peter, he talks about how after the Great Flood, the you know, all the megaliths, specifically the pyramids, kind of got demagnetized. They just didn't work the same way they did previously. But yeah, it is, especially with like, I forget, I think it's Oriente Tumbo or Lente Tumbo, which is the one where they have like the stones that are almost fused together. Like they're so placed closely together, you can't even slide a piece of paper in between them. I mean, this is stuff that we can't reproduce to this day. So, I mean, the ancient alien theory, as much as it's kind of like torn apart on History Channel, I think there's definitely a lot of ways you can look at it, and it's holds up, you know.
So, like, to be quick about it, like when we're talking about ancient aliens, we're talking about Enki and Enlil kind of thing, or we're talking about Greys, or what are we? All of the above.
I would be talking about the Anunnaki. I think the Greys play a different part in this. But let me tell you guys a quick story about like ancient aliens and like, you know, how this influenced me and how it's changed over the years. So I started learning this stuff back like a couple years before the TV show came out. And I used to like trip all my homies out about it, right? Like, you guys need to learn about the Anunnaki, this and that. You know, there was a specific house we'd all go to, you know, do our thing, get baked, drunk. And then one day I'm sitting there, you know, kind of baked off the good cannabis. And then it's just, this show just premieres. It's like the first episode is like ancient aliens, and like just starts going into all this stuff. And I'm sitting there like freaking out, like, you guys, like this is the stuff I've been telling you guys about. Like, it's on TV now. Like, my mind was blown that they were like saying this on TV, you know, at that time. Because to me, this was like underground knowledge, you know, that the government would kill people over. And now it's like, what, season 800 or something, you know? And it's like they're just stretching everything they can out of it. And I actually went to Ancient Alien Con, the first Ancient Alien Con, with a couple of homies. That was a wild experience. I actually met Giorgio, the crazy hair guy.
It's aliens, man.
For a brief second, like we were leaving, like, and he made his like agent or something. We're in this like random little corner.
Sukalos.
And I was like, "What up, dude?" And he was just like, "Hey, yeah, hi, all right." But
is that the guy with good hair?
Yeah, the crazy.
Yeah, he's got good hair.
So man, I went through that phase, you know, of like just being like super like, damn, this is wild. But then like I checked out after like season 3 or something. But if I'm being honest now, I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think that the Anunnaki really came from planet Nibiru and outer space. Not now, only because we don't have enough evidence for that. There are texts that do point in that direction, right? Like we have the Sumerian king list and just certain things. But what I am sure about, and I could be wrong, but what I am sure about is that there was a cataclysmic event on this earth many, many years ago. And prior to that cataclysmic event, we were a totally different peoples that did worship beings that told us they were gods, and we viewed them as gods. And after this cataclysmic event, and according to the text also, a lot of these quote unquote gods left or vanished, and left some custodial gods, as William Bromley would put it, to take charge of us and keep this thing going in their favor. So when we hear these stories of all these gods going to the Americas and this and that, dropping off of like a handful of people and being like, build this pyramid, do this, I'll be back at the age of Aquarius or something. That definitely happened, as is told and obvious. But did these beings come from space, Nibiru, a different dimension? That part, I don't know. I can't honestly say. But there's a lot of interesting things when it comes to the cataclysm and what was there before it, and how civilization changed drastically after it, and now we're in this mundane institutional world.
Yeah, and to add to that, Eddie, I can respect that idea that they didn't come from outer space, because a lot of these origin stories have these gods coming out of the ocean, out of cave systems, out of hollow earth. So it could suggest that there is some place like Shambhala or Agartha within underneath our earth that, how you said, maybe they're not from outer space, maybe they're from here, like the Nomos, right? They came out of the ocean. You have some Inca and Aztec stories of their creators coming out from the earth, rising from within the earth and coming out. And yeah, dude, I could get 100% behind that. I like that. I like that a lot. But then you have the asteroid belts, which I like the idea that these planets broke up, and this is what these asteroid belts were. You have the Kuiper belt, you have the other one where it's fragments of a lost ancient world. You know what I mean? I also like that idea too.
Well, yeah, that's the Enuma Elish, and I was going to mention that earlier when we were talking about astrotheology and how
I
the
got you,
Bible
bro.
can be, how the Bible can be like a metaphor for the sun and the planets. Chris, as we were saying, that's a very possible, you know, possibility. You know, the astrotheology aspect of it, but I think astrotheology actually stems to the Enuma Elish. And for those who don't know, the Enuma Elish is the Sumerian creation epic of our solar system. And in that epic tale, they, instead of saying, you know, that the planets, they tell it in a style of gods fighting in a war. So if you were to read it for face value, you would think you're reading a war between gods, but actually it's telling you the creation of our solar system when our orbits were more erratic and clashing and this and that. And then the hero of the story was Nibiru, or Marduk, as it was later named, who came in from out of our solar system and kind of hit everything and kind of shook everything into the orbit that it's in today. And we do see some weird things in our solar system that aren't explainable. For example, Uranus doesn't spin on its top axis like all the other planets. It's spinning on its side. So something knocked it over, right? And then as Juan mentioned, we have the asteroid belt, and a lot of scholars, like classical scholars from the 20th and 18th century, postulated that this is strange, that where the asteroid belt sits, there had to have been a planet before due to some strange scientific mathematics. So the Sumerians were unprecedentedly intelligent and educated, and then that's what we ask ourselves, by who, right? And then that by who is a great question that Ancient Aliens has been trying to answer for 800 seasons. But it's very possible, man, if we're being honest, it's very possible too that these Anunnaki gods were just smarter humans that just took advantage of the cataclysm, right? The initial great reset, and we're like, yo, man, we gods, like, you know, and so that's a possibility too.
Yeah. You know, they say that as above, so below thing all the time, and everybody feels so smart when they say it, right? But I just feel like that's what it is. It's like, if there's gangsters down here, there's space gangsters. And I could just see them pulling up on some goddamn monkeys, be like, yo, make them just a little bit smarter. Not too smart, just a little bit smarter. And also make them small and weak. Yeah, and weak. Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll just stick around, be by the beach or whatever.
So
you guys farm, or I'll fuck you up.
Eddie, as we wind down here, is there anything else that you want to add before we move on to the other side, if you will? You know, do you have any closing thoughts, conclusion, or anything that you want to leave the listeners with?
Man, just keep learning, dude. Just keep learning. Don't ever, think that you've learned it all, especially in this community. Keep learning and try to dig to the source of whatever it is you're learning. That's been my method, and it's gotten me this far. And yeah, man, just keep learning, dig for those source materials, and let's be cool and chill people to each other.
Finish him.
And that was
that.
Oh yeah.
That was Esoteric Eddie. Can you share where people can find your work, Eddie? Your social media and all that good stuff. I know you got a really good YouTube channel. You post those documentaries on there. You let them know where they can find you, bro?
Yep. Instagram, Esoteric Eddie. YouTube, Esoteric Eddie TV. BitChute, Esoteric Eddie TV as well. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Just stay up to date with the movement. A lot of big things are going to be coming out the next couple of years.
You gotta make sure not to dig
Right
too deep,
on.
guys. You know, this was fun, guys, and you know. Oh shit, we're too close to the truth, guys. I gotta go.
You got him, man. No, Eddie, you're the man, dude. I love this, man. I would not put you on our list of confirmed Illuminati because you're just a straight up G, spitting the facts, and I love it, dude. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you, guys.
It was a lot of fun, bro. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Yeah, that was great, dude. Fuck yeah.
Peace.